so just go to sleep and we'll wake you up or we won't, But I did have the experience of not even opening my eyes, just finding myself in the void, which I didn't find out what it was until years later. It's just a pitch dark, quiet place. And you don't know if you're in a closet or what's going on. So I just kind of hung out. And eventually there was this roiling red fog and screaming and moaning, and some hideous voice came out and said, "You know where you are."
This is Dale Cross, and welcome to another edition of the Soul Inspire podcast. This is the audio-video podcast that features spiritually uplifting stories from awakening souls to help inspire you on your own soul journey. On this episode, my guest is MK Kathy McDaniel. She's the author of the memoir Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. While dying from lung failure in 1999, she was placed on a ventilator and put into a drug-induced coma. A distressing near-death experience occurred, and although mostly traumatic, she also experienced the overwhelming bliss of heaven, which shifted her religious beliefs to a deep spirituality. I love that. Kathy credits the members of IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies, for her eventual integration of the distressing NDE and the ability to accept the sacred mission that caused her reluctant return to Earth. She now shares her experience and its messages as a guest on various media and via her memoir, Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. And on this episode, she gets to share her experience with us. So I'm so happy to have you. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, Dale. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. All right, let's start this off with a favorite question of mine, which is, let us know, tell me a little bit about your spiritual background. Did you have any kind of spiritual background when you were a child or when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We were rabid Catholics, actually. My dad started out, he was an atheist, but in World War II, his plane got shot down over a Philippine beach war zone, and his plane landed upside down, and he said, "Gosh, there's a God out there, save me, and I'll convert to Catholicism and drag my family with me." And about 5 seconds later, these guys come out of the jungle, the Marines pulled him out and saved his life. So he was an honorable man, and when he got back, we all became Catholics, and it was a wonderful thing, really. Went to all Catholic schools, including college. My dad was a lecturer. My mom worked at the hospital doing, volunteer work for the Catholic hospital. We always went to church. We observed all the holidays. So the answer is yes.
Got it. Okay, so now you had a near-death experience, and that profoundly shifted you, maybe out of the Catholic paradigm into a more spiritual, I mean, of course, Catholic is spiritual, but I should say from the religious paradigm to the more of a spiritual paradigm. Do you want to share that?
The shift?
The near-death experience first, and then how it led to your shift.
The near-death experience is rather lengthy. So for a blow-by-blow, you're welcome to buy the book. It's also about my family, so it's not just about the experience. The experience appeared to be about 2 years long if you did Earth time, but it was in segments, which confused me at first. I was told when they put me in a drug-induced coma for lung failure that I would remember nothing because they were going to take my brain offline. So just go to sleep and we'll wake you up or we won't, But I did have the experience of not even opening my eyes, just finding myself in the void, which I didn't find out what it was until years later. It's just a pitch dark, quiet place. And you don't know if you're in a closet or what's going on. So I just kind of hung out. And eventually there was this roiling red fog and screaming and moaning, and some hideous voice came out and said, "You know where you are." And being a good Catholic girl, the only thing that rang a bell was hell. And then this thing made this maniacal laugh, and I went screaming into the void. And that's when the different scenes came up. A bombed out city with weird, were they dead people? I'm not sure what they were. And then I don't know. It was a mess. There were demons. There were tasks that were given to me because I didn't know I was dead. I mean, you really don't, because your soul is you, and your body's like a car. You get your soul gets in your body and you drive around, and you got a mind and all that stuff. But when you come out, it's you. And you're just, I just thought I was alive in this like Wizard of Oz sort of situation. And the weird thing about mine was that I did see two people that were alive, and there's a lady doing a book on that now. That's really rare. And so when I got home, I found I had to give them both messages about the way they were living their lives. And that's not an easy thing to go up to somebody and say, I saw you in hell. And I mean, it's a showstopper. So one of them never talked to me again. And the other one thanked me about a year later and said, if you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have had the courage to do such and such. And now, my life's completely turned around. I'm happy, and thanks a lot. So, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. That I had all these bad experiences that later I was able to find them in what actually happened in my own life. And that was strange, because again, being a Catholic, we were told that despite Jesus' death on the cross, there's going to be some purgatory for everybody. Just learn to live with that fact. When you die, you will be in purgatory. It's like hell, except you'll get out. And then they had this system that started in the Middle Ages, I believe, where if you said extra rosaries, you get like 362 days off your sentence in purgatory. And then if you went to extra masses, you'd get 142. It was math. And I was good at math, but I thought I screwed up somewhere. I'll tell you. But so that was just emblazoned in my whole personality that I would go there. And I did. The thing about this situation was when I got to the last segment, which I did not know was going to be the last, I was pretty tired. And I do remember I kept thinking, I can't despair. I can't despair. We were always taught, that's the unforgivable sin. That's an insult to the Holy Ghost. So I knew I couldn't despair. I had to keep going, which was becoming very tedious. And so at the last time when I said the magic word and found myself in this, wow, incredible bliss and joy and happiness, and it was just insane. It was just so wonderful. There's just not words to describe it. You hear that over and over again, but it's true. It's just everything wonderful times a million. And I had been caring for my best friend, who used to be my fiance, in Seattle before I got sick. And I was up there for 9 months, day and night, taking care of this guy. And he finally died at 53. And I was heartbroken, not to mention exhausted. So here I am in heaven. He has died a month ago, and I'm not doing well. I got really sick. But I look up and there he is. He's standing over there, like 10, 15 feet away, and he's smiling. And I thought, oh my God, he doesn't know he's dead. I still didn't realize what had happened to me. And he burst out laughing. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I didn't say that out loud. Oh my, well, if he's dead, good news. I'm dead. I made it. This is great. So I asked him, come on, let's go see something. And then I kind of remembered looking over at this table with a book. It was about half open, big book. And he'd been showing me something in there. And I said, oh, no, that's going to be too hard. I want to stay here with you. And so that flashed through my whatever is a mind up there. And he started toward me, and I thought, this is not going to be good news. And he says, now, Mary Kay, you've got too much left to do. And I thought, oh my God, they're throwing me out. And I said, no, I'm not going. And boom, I wake up out of this 3-week coma. completely confused. I'm afraid I'm back in hell because all these people are milling around. I can't move. The lights are too bright. And then it's my family and they're glad I'm back. And my mother, I could have strangled her. She said, oh, Kathy, we had this prayer circle going around the world and we brought you back. Oh, later I said, if that ever happens to me again, don't you bring me back. And by then, ill about the whole thing. And she said, don't worry, we won't. So that we got that settled now. So anyway, I was back and I was not happy. And I was very confused. And the problem with these distressing, hellish experiences is you go to tell somebody, and you say, I was in this hellish thing. I was in an abortion clinic. I was raped by zombies. And, and then they're going, oh, it was the drugs. Or Kathy, what did you do? We thought you were such a nice girl. And you learn to clam up, and so it took 10 years I would just write it out. I was a writer, never published or anything, but at that time. And I would think if I could just get this out of my head, I can go on with my life because I am haunted all the time. What happens if I die again and go back there? I mean, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, through a series of synchronicities, I would meet one person who'd tell me to go to this person. I ended up at an IONS meeting in Seattle, and that's quite a drive for me. And I got up there and the place was crammed. I don't know, 100 and something people. And I was shocked because I'd been doing a little reading, I'd got a hold of a couple of books and all these people. And then this lady got up and told about her story, breakfast with Jesus and the angels and all that stuff. And I thought, that's not what happened to me. So I went to another meeting and same thing, puppies and rainbows. And I thought, well, something went wrong. So I was sneaking out of the meeting and one of the main guys says, what's going on? And I said, well, this is nice. I'm really glad all these people had these experiences, but I didn't. And he said, oh, did you have a distressing one? I says, yeah. And he goes, great. And I says, are you out of your mind? And he says, no, they're really rare. We'd love for you to tell it. I said, no. And he says, no, you got to do it. So I got strong-armed into getting up at a meeting like 2 months later, in front of all these people. I hate public speaking, and tell my story of shame, And so I thought, what do I got to lose? They'll hear it. They'll ask me to leave. I'll never go back. That's the worst that'll happen. But as I told the story, and I am a storyteller, I mean, man, you could have heard a pin drop in that place. Their eyes were all Googled out and they were just hanging on their seats. And when we got to the end and we got out, using the Christmas Carol, I mean, there was applause. I mean, they were so glad we were all out of there safely. And I thought, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe this isn't too bad. So I thought I'd hang around. And then the word got out, oh, that's the lady over there that went to hell. You go talk to her, And so that was kind of weird being the lady from hell, but it got better. And then we had COVID, and then I was stuck in the house for 2 years. And I had been hearing voices, you hear the voice is, it's like your guardian angel, your higher consciousness or something that most of us have our whole lives. The one that says, nah, that's not going to be a good idea doing that, man. But it gets a lot louder when you get back. And so the voice kept telling me, that's the one that told me to go to Seattle. And it got louder and louder. You got to write a book. You got to write a book. You got to write a book. So finally I thought, well, I'll just sit down and write a book. I found a lady that was opening her publishing company at an IONS conference. And she says, I'll help you. And it took me a while, but I got it done. And then she, published it and put it out in a few places. And then I got an email from Kirsty Sudsbury in New Zealand, for crying out loud, that said, I want you on my podcast. And I thought, I wonder what that is. And I contacted her, I says, I can't afford to fly to, she said, no. You get on, the Zoom meeting and all that stuff. So she was a doll. Absolutely. She's still doing a little bit now, but she was one of the first NDE podcast people, and she'd had an experience. So when I got on her show for the first time, I was explaining to you earlier that generally when the NDErs get around anything electrical, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And between her and I, her whole block went down, Did you see what just happened? Her whole blood
Yeah.
went down.
You dis
Black. I
you
did she
disappeared.
she was it was wild. She and later I thought, I wonder what happened. She says, I don't know what happened. She says, I've lived there 20 years and this has never happened. So I'm used to that now. But I did trace back all the things, the segments in hell, to things that happened to me in real life. I just made them worse. And so by running across other NDEers over the last, what's it been, 15 years, we kind of started not making sense, but finding, well, this is odd. I had that same experience with the segments. And now, after all of us talking about it, I have a NDE, DNDE sharing group through IONS once a month. There's quite a few of us. We sometimes get, 15, 20 people, and a lot of them telling their story for the first time because they know they won't be shamed. They know they'll be believed. And it's such a relief to get it out there and have people say, oh, cool, instead of saying, you wicked. So that's worked out well. And a lot of them had those same experiences. So our bottom line is we think that was a manifestation on our part. The fun statistic I have for the day is I've met a lot of people now that have had these, and I would say a minimum of 85% of them are former Catholics.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And once we realized that and started thinking about it, and we came up with, well, hell, we were taught our whole lives we were going to go there. Why would we not? So now we can come back and tell people, skip the trip. That's BS. God loves everybody. The main thing we all come back with is God is all loving and all forgiving and would never condemn anybody. We get a life review, but it's a positive thing. And how cool is it to see a movie of yourself, and see your whole life, and then they turn it around, and then you get to see how it felt for other people to interact with you. So any karma there is not God's doing. It's just a realization of the consequences of our actions, to feel those people's hurt. If you said a really snarky word to somebody when they were down anyway, and now you feel that little zing of pain, but you also feel the joy that you brought people. So it's a learning experience. It's like we choose to come down to earth and learn certain things. You and I were talking about contrast and all that earlier, and I saw something the other day that says there's no really right or wrong. It's all experiences, and our object is to become loving. I was told later, through the voice, I was saying it had been months and I was still being just haunted by all those damn demons. And I said, look, give me something. I got to have a new way to live. Give me something positive. I don't want any more thou shalt nots. So over a series of a couple of weeks, I got be loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. So that's seared in my soul. I don't remember where I left my keys, but that is always right at the tip of my tongue. And if you can't remember all that, it's just loving and kind. And once you start approaching the world that way, you can see all the little changes that start to happen. And I'm really grateful now for the experience.
That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. So it's interesting that you said that you see this as a manifestation. And as you said, the majority of near-death experiences, certainly the majority that we've had on this channel, actually, I think yours is the first one that had a negative or, shall I say, distressing experience where you actually saw a vision of hell. Now, this being a manifestation, would you say that hell is not a place that you go, but it's a state of mind that you brought with you from your beliefs and expectations that maybe that you were raised with, would you say?
Yeah, I would. I think if I had gone and stayed, that wouldn't have happened. I think that was an experience I chose, kind of like the Greek heroes. They go down in the underworld and they find the truth and they bring it back to the city. I think that's what us distressing people are. We're just ambassadors. We went to a place that of our own making, but we want to warn people, clean your mind, get that stuff out of there because it's not true.
Mhm.
As far as on the other side being, because this is everything's a duality. I think God is energy. In its purest form, everything that's ever been created is an extension of God, including us. And that's how we're all one, is the energy. And there's, energy can't be made and it can't be destroyed. And for positive, there's got to be a negative. So it seems logical to me, not necessarily spiritual, that there would be a place for negativity on the other side. I don't think God has anything to do with it or
Mhm.
wants anything to do with it, but we have free will.
Mhm.
So we can come to this planet and be obnoxious and be hurtful and all of those things. And so when you go on the other side, either you just wanted that for an experience and or you're just like it. So there's bound to be some dark hole someplace on the other side for people who have the free will to say, I'm going to stay with these people. I've been told that there's always this, angels kind of hanging out that are, if anybody changes their mind, just say so, you're out of there. Um, but it's not God's doing, it's our own doing.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, and now you were raised as a Catholic. Were your parents still around? Are your parents still with us now?
Dad died about 3.5 years ago of COVID. He was the only one in the family that really read my book or would talk to me
Mhm.
about it. The rest of them just thought I must have been really bad and fooled them.
Hmm.
Or they just didn't know what to think. But that, that made me feel crappy. But Dad would listen, he listened and uh when he died, he was a believer, man, and all the stuff that we had talked about. And, he sent me an email a couple of days after he was gone. It was really cool. I got it up on my study up here. He still does things like flashlights when he wants some attention, no matter where I am. And uh, down at the senior center, he was doing that a lot. And finally, almost everybody would say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just Kathy's dad." You know, so that's cool. Now he's got this thing where he turns on a light right next to my chair where I watch television at night.
Oh.
And we cannot figure how it happens because at first it was like at 8 o'clock and the next night it was 8:02, then it was 8:04, and then it was 8:06, and he got up at about 10 o'clock and he stopped. Now
Hmm.
and I thought, oh, I miss him. The
Hmm.
other night it starts up 8 o'clock, 7:58, 7:56. Now he's going backwards. Now we've
Right.
torn the Alexa apart. We've done everything we can think of, and there's just no other explanation.
Okay.
So it's cool.
So is this showing you that he's around, that he's
Oh
with you?
yeah. I,
Right.
you know, we are just we've got all kinds of help. I mean, we have angels and higher selves and um oh gosh, people that we used to, yeah, no, they don't go away. They're
Hmm.
just on the other side. It's like
Hmm.
they're in the next room. Yeah, definitely. You get that feeling that you're not alone, and that's great.
Well, you totally read my mind then. That is what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, what was their reaction to to your situation? But you read that. Now, a lot of people, when they have these experiences, near-death, classical near-death experiences, they come back with some kind of gifts, whether it be clairaudience, clairvoyance. Did you come back with any gifts from your experience, Kathy?
I still can hear voices sometimes, especially when it has to do with maybe I haven't seen somebody for a while and I say, "How you doing?" and they say, "Great," and then I hear daughter, and I say,
Hmm.
"Well, how's your daughter doing?" "Oh, not so good." So it's little tiny things like that when I can tell um, something's very wrong, even though they're trying to tell me it's not. Even strangers, if I'm sitting next to someone, I travel a lot, and sometimes I'll just sit next to somebody and just feel like, oh, there's trouble with such and such, and I don't want to ask them. But for a while, I had an airplane ministry. Um,
Hmm.
I would go down and see my mom. I was going every month for a while after Dad died, and I would have somebody sit next to me on the plane. And they'd start in, just out of the blue, somebody say, oh, I just got back from my mom's funeral. I'm never going to see her again. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just put my Kindle down and I turn, so for 2 hours we'd chat and all that. And it was every single flight, for months of
Wow.
one either up or down, or sometimes both, that I'd have somebody to talk to. And so when the podcast thing came up, I thought, well, this is a great way to reach more than one person at a time.
Mhm.
I've got all this stuff, quote, to do before I can go home, and I'm really anxious to do that.
Sure.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, what was the period of integration like? Because I noticed that a lot of people that have these near-death experiences, a lot of them come back, but they feel very depressed at first because there's such a gap between this bliss that they like what you experience, the bliss, and then they come back into this human realm. What was the process of integration like for you? Now, how long did it take to integrate?
A lot of ranting and raving and crying, and and long did it, oh my, it's still going on. All right, it's been 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't wait to go home. I've accepted, the fact that it's not going to be imminent, and if it
Mm-hmm.
is, cool. If it's not, oh well. With the book open about halfway, I was 53 at the time, so I figure I still had about 50 years to go, and I've sucked up 25 of them.
Wow.
And I'm glad now I'm back. I'm happy about it, knowing that I'm doing something good from the feedback I get. And eventually I'll go home. It's okay. Just, gut it out, man. Be a sport.
There you go. So do you think that it seems like these different near-death experience stories, some people have a choice to come back, and some people say they are almost incited to come back or pushed to come back? What was your experience, and how do you
Um,
think that plays out for
from people,
most?
I did not want to come back, man. They sent
Hmm.
me back. But I've talked to several other people. It seems, the ones that want to go back, I had a friend that had just had a baby, and she did not want to leave that baby. And
Hmm.
or people have small children and they think, oh my God, my husband works all the time. The kids are going to go to his mother. Oh my God. So yeah, they come back generally for the kids. Other than that, I haven't heard really people that were happy to come back.
Right. So, and my theory is that the reason they keep coming back is obviously they weren't finished with their mission or something.
Yeah,
Because you often hear that you've got work to do, or what's your
like
take on
Betty.
that?
I love Betty Gordo's thing
Yes.
where they said, okay, well, if you don't want to come back, we've got this brand new baby and you can start all over again. Just, no, no, I'll
That
go
was.
back. I'll go back. Because you're already halfway through. It's like, no, 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 don't make me do this again. It's kind of a joke between all of us when we talk about the reincarnation thing, and you can come back and you can do this and all that. And most of us say, not coming back. No, I'm sorry. Somebody else said that Earth was the toughest gig. You got to be a really brave soul to come down to this dark planet with a dark energy. It's a beautiful place, but it's tough.
Mhm.
And that, my God, they're still finding millions of galaxies out there. They don't even know where the end of the universe is. And so there's got to be, and I've heard lots of places you can go. I mean, there's aliens, folks, and them are us. I think that are reincarnated. So I want to do something. My dad and I want to go see what's in a black hole. So we got a date to do that.
Oh, interesting.
Just fly through there and go through. That should be really interesting. But
Mhm.
there's quote schools, and you don't get bored. There's less to do. Eternity is a very long time, and
Mhm.
I think we're you just when you get home. I don't know. It's so wonderful. We can't even begin to understand it. You just have to trust, and I now fully trust. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. The trusting in the unconditional love. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
great. Do you think that the reincarnation is a type of cycle that goes on infinitely, or do you think it comes to an end at some point? Or what's your take on
I know,
that?
like I say, forever is a long time.
Yeah.
Every now and then I love it. They call it a vacation life. You've known a couple of people, nothing goes wrong. I mean, they stay under the radar. They've got the perfect and maybe they earned that. I think that's kind of cool when you think about it. I guess if I had a vacation life, I might come back. But no, you don't know. And
Well,
that's part of the plan.
well, with the Abraham Hicks teachings, which is something that I follow quite a bit, they're all about that we create our own reality with our mind. And so when we wake up to that, then we can start creating a beautiful life. It almost becomes a choice. Do you want to have a nightmare or do you want to have a beautiful life? I'm like, hey, I'm all sign me up for the beautiful life. I understand the idea about learning lessons and stuff, although that may be a perspective as well. Other near-death experience people say, no, no, it's not about the lessons, it's about the experience. And I'm like, okay, it's all these different
It is different. It's
perspectives, but
huge. It's
yeah,
big. I mean, we can't even begin to see how complicated this whole thing is.
that's right. That's right. But it's a perfect tapestry with
Yes, it is.
with threads, some
Yes,
positive,
different
some
colors and
negative, but
yeah,
those I always say you can't have the light without the dark and the dark without the light, at
of
least
course.
here in the 3D and I
Right.
guess in the fourth dimension as well, where there's still
Oh, there's supposed to
duality.
be more than that,
More, that's right.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So, what's your experience been since, like you said, it's an ongoing integration. You're still integrating, but have you noticed quite an up leveling in your life since this whole experience? What kind of improvements have you seen in your quality of life with this knowledge?
Well, I think by really throwing myself into trying to be loving and kind and all that other stuff. Um, Somebody said to me the other day at the center, you're always so happy, you're always so helpful. Yeah, she was almost disgusted, You're always, yeah, you just what is that, and that makes me happy. I find it such a challenge sometimes because you run into people in situations where they're just not very pleasant people and they're maybe smelly or they're just and you think, oh wow, this is going to be a chore. Loving and kind, okay, let's see what we can do with this one. There's a challenge to it, but how people respond with just a hi, how's it going, or can I help you with that chair? That happened to me day before yesterday. A whole bunch of people and this guy with his banging everything with his walker and he's grumbling under his breath and oh he's going to sit right next to me through this entire presentation. But I helped him with a chair. I helped him get this. He was delightful.
Mhm.
By
Mhm.
the end we were buddies. And that's, I think, the greatest thing is giving people a chance. Whereas maybe we get a little hurried in everyday life and it's kind of all about us. And so once you start thinking, wow, that person could use a smile or a hand, it and the response that you get back from that is just infectious. You want to do it more. And
Mhm.
so that's what I think I found more that people are nicer because I'm being nicer.
Oh, nice. I like that. Everybody's like a mirror, right, of our inner state. So if we have that unconditional love for ourselves and then it comes back too.
Yeah.
It's now did you have I didn't hear, did you have because you did talk briefly that people go through these what you call life reviews. Did you want to share a little bit about what kind of a life review you had? I know you don't want to give everything away because you got a wonderful book that we all should read, but do you have like a snippet of a
I
life
wish I
review?
did. They kicked me
Oh,
out too soon. I didn't even
oh,
get
you didn't
that.
get the life review.
No,
Okay.
I was
Okay.
cheated, man. Of course, maybe not. Maybe it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
maybe not, because if you feel all the intensity of the negative side of it too, that's tough. Of course, the loving where you were kind, that's nice to feel how
Yeah, well,
that all
I'm working on that because
right.
I would like a nice life review now that I've kind of got the inside story. I want to be able to sit there with popcorn and watch it,
There you go.
whinging too often. So no, I didn't get one. So I find that fascinating. I'm not intimidated by him because as I get older, I forget shit. Oops, sorry.
No, that's okay.
It'll be kind of fun to go back and say, "Oh my God, I forgot about that. That was so fun."
Yeah.
Oh Lord, I forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
it'll
right.
be fun. It's like, reading your own memoir, except you get to see it and
Yes.
remember all your old friends and
Mm.
how things that were such a disaster at the time, my gosh, but how it all worked for good. And I'm a
Mm.
big believer in that now, that um the worst possible thing that can happen to you brings you empathy. And that is such a gift to give to other people. And the thing that comes to my mind is I lost my first baby when she was 2 days old. She died a terrible death, and I was just destroyed. Here I am, 19, 20 years old.
Mm.
And that that turned into something that I've used so many times with other women who have lost children, that I know how you're feeling. Um, and this, they can ask me questions. How long is this? Am I going to mourn forever? But you'll get used to it, you know. And they're so, I know how you know how I feel, Kathy. So when you give me advice, it feels right, and I feel comforted because it's the people that say, "Oh, you'll have another baby," or "You'll forget," that you just want to punch in the nose. But empathy, I think, is a gift.
Mhm. Very nice. Very nice. What do you make of those then that don't have empathy? So you said it's a gift. So there are some people in the world, some souls, I guess, maybe choose to play this game with less empathy, maybe to help others learn empathy. Or why do you think there are some people that seem to be incapable of empathy? I think of the sociopathic types, or they seem to get a lot done. They seem to be able to be CEOs of companies very easily because they have that ability to step their way to the top, and they seem to have a lot of material success. Do you think maybe that their souls sign up for that to teach us something? From
We'll
there,
find
they
out.
seem like very brave souls to sign up for the negative path, and
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And again, we don't really understand until we see the tapestry from the other side. We're seeing the side with all the knots tied in it.
yeah, that's right.
And so yeah, it's a lot of this is beyond our little brains. We really can't
That's
comprehend it. Just
that's
have to
true.
have faith.
That's true. So so Kathy, do you tell me about your day-to-day life now? What is a day in the life of Kathy now that you've had this experience?
Well, I spend a lot of time on the computer. Um, you know, advertising the book. I'm on a lot of podcasts, so I like to put the links on. I'm
Mhm.
on LinkedIn and Facebook, and um, oh gosh, I'm in all kinds of, not clubs, but places where I can help people.
Mhm.
The senior center is my newest one. I absolutely love it. It's the crazy people that show up. I mean, the crazy fun people that show up that still are alive.
Mhm.
Because the older you get, it's still you. You're never more. I'm never more than 35 years old. I am 78 now, and people
Wow.
say, "No way." It's like, I think they kind of do a reset or something on us when we get back.
I think so.
Energy thing.
Yeah.
But I like doing that. I've gotten away from church. I had to leave the Catholics. I had, like most of us, we come back with this understanding of God. We've been in God's presence. We've felt God's love. We know God would never make these rules. Those are all man-made rules. You eat
Mhm.
meat on Friday, you're going to hell. Oh, wait a minute, we've changed our mind. So we have a problem with religion, and I don't try and talk anybody out of theirs. They've got their own path, but
Yeah.
for most of us, recovering Catholics, we become spiritual, like, and a lot of the atheists have become spiritual. I mean, you can't come back from an experience like that and still be an atheist.
That's right. Yes, I interviewed Betty, who you
Uh-huh.
know, and yeah, she was an atheist, but she was very shocked pleasantly that wow,
Possibly, yeah, yeah,
unconditional love is all there is on the other side. And God
yeah.
is love, and this whole idea of judgment is a very human construct that seems to come from separation, the idea of that we're separate from each other and separate from
Mhm.
God. I mean, the
Mhm.
source of life, why would it need to judge anyone, right? Because it's got everything, it's complete.
And it made
Uh,
everything,
it may have, yeah, it doesn't make, yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Um, Very interesting. So, okay, so you volunteer, do you volunteer in these senior centers or?
Yeah, I've kind of taken over a couple of things that needed to be done where, dementia, trying to keep that at bay as best
Mhm.
we can because people are living a long time. My mom's 97 and she's
Mm,
got dementia bad.
mhm,
And, you just don't want to go there if you can help it.
mm. Okay, God bless her. God bless her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you take on clients? Do you do any client work or no? You don't do that kind of
No,
thing.
I wrote the one book, memoir.
Okay.
I mean, how many memoirs can you write?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it,
So,
what else do I do? Well, I play mahjong, I play bingo. We go on walks, conferences. I like to travel. I stay active.
but you're not really 78, right? You're just joking because you look so much younger than 78.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's all the wrinkles? What
Well,
happened?
on Zoom, you push that little thing that says
Oh, the filter? No, no, no. I don't think you have a filter. I don't think you have a filter. I think this is your natural look. That's
Well,
amazing.
thanks. Yeah, well, we have good genes in the family. That's got something
Well,
going for
the
us, I
same
think.
thing with Reverend Bill McDonald. I don't know if you saw that interview I
Yeah,
just did. Look at him. My God, he's 80 years old. He doesn't have any wrinkles either. So I
yeah,
think
I've
I
met
think
him.
there's
Yeah,
something to this whole
I think so.
idea that
They
near
give you
people that
more, they
have
give you
near
a boost or something so you
yeah,
can
yeah,
get your work done.
yeah.
People look you in the eye instead of going, ah.
So people come
Yeah,
back.
I'm grateful. I am
Yeah,
very
for sure.
grateful.
So people come back from death and they actually look better than ever. This is
It's
amazing.
good for you. Yeah.
Of course, we do want to skip the trip if we can.
Yeah,
Of
yeah. You
course,
just don't know
which
what's
is your
waiting for you.
which is your whole message in the book, right?
Yeah.
That's do you want to so your book is available. Where can we buy that book?
Well, Amazon's number one, of course, probably the cheapest place.
We'll put the
And then
link.
Barnes and Noble and, what else? Off of my website if you want it autographed. Yeah,
Nice.
pretty much any
I,
place.
I like the title that you chose, Misfit.
In
It's
hell,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Well, the demons kept giving me things to do that were disgusting, like working at an abortion clinic, and I would
Oh.
say, no, I'm not going to do that. I would go and see what I say. No, I'm not going to do that. And then they'd say, okay, they all had big clubs and sticks and said,
Mm.
okay, it's just going to get worse, and it did. Each time I said no, so I was a misfit. And then the heaven expat thing is expatriates are people who live in one country and then they go do their work, they in someplace else, and then they go home. And we all start in
Oh.
heaven. So we're all heaven expats. We come down
Hmm.
here, we do our work. It's tough duty, and then we go home.
I like that. So you believe that before we were born, we came from that source and then we're going returning to that source,
Oh
right?
yeah,
That's what
I
that's
do. I
yeah.
really do. Yeah.
Yeah. So heaven and hell, states of mind rather than actual literal places, but more like states of mind. Yes, would you
Well, heaven,
say?
not state of mind. I mean,
Oh,
heaven is heaven. I mean, God is God.
hmm.
There's that's
Okay.
but
Yeah.
for me, yes, the hell I think was
A mental construct, a
yeah, it was a manifestation of my
manifestation.
beliefs, my beliefs.
Right. So it seems like certain people, wherever their consciousness was just before they crossed over. So if they're in a very dark place, sometimes they
I don't think so.
perpetuate that or
No, I don't think
no?
they're finding out, it's not good NDEs for good people and bad NDEs for bad people. They've written that one off.
Oh,
And
okay.
they've also written off if you're scared in a car accident, you're going to go to hell. No.
Okay.
It's just most people go to heaven and stay. And
Right.
then there's the 100,000 of us, or how many thousands and millions of, actually it's something like 1 in 20 have had some sort of a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
There's getting to be more and more. I don't know if it's more and more, or if we're just coming forward, but I think there's this great awakening is coming, and it's good. It's good news. Good news. And if you have an
Okay.
experience, you're not weird. You're probably right where you should be and in good company. And I suggest they continue to watch programs like this and to check out
Mhm.
IANDS.org. There's thousands and thousands of us all over the world that have had the same experiences, basically, with different religions and different backgrounds. And so we're all going to the same place, and we didn't sit down and make one big story up. No, that's not what happens.
Yeah, obviously not. Yeah, exactly. So your take is interesting in that I think I heard you say earlier in the program, or maybe it was before we started, and you said, well, you said that because I came back, I had that experience, but you feel that you would not have had that hellish experience if you would have stayed. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Did you
I
want to
really
share?
think so. I think that was just something I volunteered for, to come back and tell my Catholic friends and other people what religion tells you about anything negative about God. It's just not true. And I think religions were meant to control people.
Mhm.
And I have a low opinion of them just from my experience, and maybe some people have a good experience,
Mhm.
but beware. If anybody says, if you do this, you're going to hell, run.
Right. It's a false thing. Hell is a false reality, a false thing.
It's not something that God does. No,
Right.
you can go if you want, you know,
So
but
it's
don't.
more of a free will thing.
It is. It's a free will
So
thing.
choose love and then you'll be fine when you cross over.
That's right. Be loving
Sounds
and kind, loving and kind, loving and kind. That's
sounds
all you got
good.
to do.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Well, we're definitely going to put your I really enjoyed having this conversation with you today.
Thanks, Dale.
And we're gonna put the link, please everyone, purchase that book. It sounds fantastic. It
It's
sounds great.
upbeat. It's an upbeat
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for being on the show. And I look forward to reading that book.
Okay, very good. Hope to see you at a conference one of these years.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way
Oh,
fun, way fun.
wonderful. All such wonderful people. Such
Okay,
wonderful,
thanks,
wonderful
Sam.
people. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And that's it for another edition of the Soul Inspire podcast. See you next time. The Soul Inspire podcast is brought to you by DaleCross.net. Discover the freedom, bliss, and ecstasy within you. At DaleCross.net, I can help connect you with your soul's purpose, passion, and mission. Your soul signed up for something great. Discover what it is with the tools I offer. Book a free one-on-one consultation now at dalecross.net and live your greatness.